Hello, everyone. This next series of lectures is going to be talking about how you elicit requirements. There's a lot of different techniques that you can utilize to go through and pull requirements out of stakeholders and out of documentation and whatnot. And these will identify all those different techniques. We'll talk about what they are, their benefits, basically their advantages and disadvantages, and then some best practices as well for each of them. So there'll be a separate lecture for every technique because I go into quite a bit of detail, and we'll be able to jump right in. So let's get into the first particular technique, and this is brainstorming. So brainstorming is all about solving problems. So you can use brainstorming to help solve an existing problem that you have. That could be a problem really early on in the project. That could be in the middle of the project. It could be in the end. It could also be to generate ideas. And that's kind of the common conception that a lot of people have, or perception, I should say. They utilize brainstorming to generate thoughts and ideas. And I've put together a ton of brainstorming sessions where we just get in a room and we have a certain thing and let's just talk about it. Or we have a certain problem, let's talk about potential solutions. And last but not least is create consensus. So you're able to get people in a room, they all are talking about it, and people are feeding off other people's ideas, and this is all coming up, and then in the end you can create a consensus on a solution or an idea that's probably going to work to solve that problem. So what are some different types of brainstorming? The first type is an individual brainstorm. So a project team member creates a list of ideas. Personally, I think I've used this once throughout my business analyst career. And a lot of it's just because an individual brainstorming, it's more of like I sent them a question or a problem, I guess, and then they're brainstorming ideas. The one time I can remember specifically using it was there was an end user that was in a very unique role, and they had a problem that they had brought up, and so I kind of challenged them and said, okay, well, brainstorm me some potential solutions. What are ways that we can get around that? What are some requirements we can write to help achieve the solution? And so they brainstormed, and I think I just sent it. It wasn't in an official document, it was in an email, and they sent it back to me. So that could be considered a brainstorm. So that's individual. You also have open. So in this one, this is the most common one that I've used. So you get people in a room and you just say, okay, here's the agenda, here's the issue, here's the what we're doing, here's kind of the scope of our brainstorming session. You kick it off with something and you let them go, and people are talking and throwing ideas out and getting excited. Other people are feeding off those ideas that are getting brought up, and you're just kind of rolling. And you have a scribe, which we'll get into a little bit later, but they're in there and they're documenting everything. That could be you as the business analyst, preferably not. Preferably you got somebody else that's documenting because you want to be there facilitating that brainstorm and helping. You've got some ideas and knowledge as well, so you want to help feed in some of those brainstorming ideas. And the last other type is a structured one. So this is where participants are writing down their ideas, and then a facilitator is going kind of around the room one by one. Okay, give me one of your ideas. Give me one of your ideas. And they're going all the way around one by one, and they'll just keep going around the table until every person has exhausted their full list of ideas. This is a much lower key one, and it's really going to be utilized a lot of times if there are some strong people in the room, maybe some senior management, executive members, executive leadership, and people are going to be a little shy to kind of speak up and throw their ideas out for solving this problem that's been in the business or the company for a long time. And so then the structured works so people can feel comfortable sharing their ideas. Or maybe you have a very strong-willed person and they just don't let people talk. Right? They're just hammering home, and they're always talking and throwing in their ideas, and really they're kind of quieting everybody else in the room. You can utilize the structure to help get around that. So your individual, or your types are your individual, your open, and your structured. Personally, I use the open 99% of the time. I have used the individual once out of thousands of projects. I've used the structure a handful of times. Most of it wasn't because of an overbearing person. A lot of times it was because there was executive management in the room. And the reason we were brainstorming is because there was a big challenge, a big problem we were running into. And it was a very hot topic and something that had a lot of political type of unrest around it. So I wanted to do a more structured environment and work through the brainstorm. People felt comfortable giving their ideas. So what are some pros and cons to brainstorming? Why would you utilize this elicitation technique? Well, let's talk about the advantages first. The first thing is it generates a lot of ideas really quickly, especially if you have the open brainstorm. You're getting a ton of ideas and you're like, wow, this is great. You're using everybody's minds to help solve that problem or generate ideas. Also, you're getting multiple perspectives. If you've done your job in pulling in the right stakeholders and the right people into these brainstorming session, you're getting users and IT folks and maybe managers and other departments that are giving their input and thoughts into how this can be solved or the different ideas that are coming up with. And also it promotes equal participation. Whether in an open environment, that's kind of an equal participation as long as everybody feels comfortable, or in a structured environment, there's equal participation as you kind of go one by one around the room. So what are some disadvantages? Why wouldn't you use a brainstorm? One big thing is ideas aren't discussed or explored. The whole point of the brainstorm is to get a whole bunch of ideas and then kind of formulate out what are the best ideas to move forward on. But we don't really go into detail about those ideas. They all are stuck at a high level. You don't want to start diving into details of a specific brainstorm idea or topic because that takes you away from the other ideas that are going to come out of it. So you don't really dive into it. So that's kind of one of the cons, as well as the true meaning of that idea could be ambiguous or misunderstood. Since you're not diving in, you can kind of get too much at the high level and cause some issues there. So let's talk about some best practices for brainstorming. The first thing is you want to determine the type of brainstorming meeting you're going to have ahead of time. Obviously, individual, it's a little bit different, but if it's going to be open or structured, you want to know before you go into that session, as part of your planning, is this going to be an open session or is this going to be a structured session? Very, very, very important that you go in and you can set a clear agenda. Wow, good segue, right? You want to publish an agenda prior to the brainstorming session. Basically, it allows people to brainstorm before they even get into the brainstorming session. They can start to research what that problem is or what that where you're looking to generate ideas. So you want to be very clear in what your agenda is, the problem you're trying to solve, or the area you're trying to generate some ideas for. Once you get into the meeting, you want to clearly state the objective of the meeting. These sessions can go off topic very easily and very quickly. You want to make sure everybody's clear. This is the agenda. Here's the objectives of what we want to do. Go. The next thing is you want to create an environment to encourage participation. So again, if you have people that are really strong-willed or this is a very touchy topic for whatever reason in the organization, you may want to go into a structured environment to encourage participation. You also want to make sure that if you have a quieter person in the room, that you're including them in the brainstorm, even when it's an open discussion. Once kind of ideas have died down, call them out, pull them into the conversation, get them talking, because you've included them for a reason. You want their thoughts. And the next thing is to establish ground rules. So this is very important to keep this a brainstorming session because it can go awry, as well as it can kind of sometimes hurt people's feelings depending on the organization. So the first thing is don't discuss ideas during the brainstorming session. Only ask questions to clarify it. So we're brainstorming for a specific problem. Solutions are getting thrown out. You shouldn't be diving into how that solution would be accomplished and blah, 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 blah. You should just be maybe asking additional questions to pull out more details of that brainstorm. So you want to make sure that people understand that. You're just generating ideas at this point. Don't dismiss or discount an idea or person. This is going to not encourage them to participate later. They're going to feel shunned and stupid. Brainstorming is all about 99 terrible ideas and one great idea that ends up working. And if you can do that, perfect. That's exactly what you need. You only need that one idea. But there's usually some people that bring up some ideas that just won't work, don't discount them and say, nah, Betty, that's not going to work. Write it down. Keep an open mind and don't discount them right away. You do want to build on other people's suggestions and ideas. And this is why I like the open environment. You want people to be talking and other people to be asking questions and kind of the excitement and the energy to be raising, because that's when you're going to create some great discussion and some great ideas to solve the problems. And last, have fun. Brainstorming session, this isn't super formal. Actually, none of my requirements are elicitation techniques are extremely formal, because that's just not me, as you can tell in my sweatshirt here. But have fun. Encourage fun, laughing, smiling, giving people encouragement. That's very important, and you want to make sure you have fun. Some other best practices. You want to establish roles prior to the meeting. So there's really 3 key roles, and sometimes they will be multiple people will play the roles, but you want to have a timekeeper. It's very important as you're in conversation. Ideas are getting flown and discussions happening. It's very easy to lose track of time. You want to be cognizant of everybody's time, and you want to validate that you are ending the meeting on time. So have a timekeeper. Have them watching. If this is a 30-minute or an hour session, have them giving some warnings as you get closer. 10 minutes remaining, 5 minutes remaining, 2 minutes remaining, whatever it is, so the session can be wrapped up. Next is a scribe. This is a person that's writing those ideas. Generally, it's on a potentially a computer hooked up to some type of projector, so everybody can see those ideas. A lot of times I've done it on a whiteboard. That's hard to translate sometimes. You got to take a picture of the phone and eventually type it into a computer. So I prefer to use like OneNote or Microsoft Word or something like that, just to start writing ideas quickly and then being able to show them to the group, because you do need to show those ideas back to the group for a future step, which we'll get to here in just a second. And then the third thing is the facilitator. Generally going to be you as the business analyst. You're going to be coming in, putting together you're going to be determining the type, putting together the agenda and setting it out ahead of time, setting the objective of the meeting and setting the ground rules. You're facilitating that meeting. You're the one that's driving that meeting forward. So those are the 3 key roles there. And again, you could have one person play multiple roles. Like the facilitator could also be the timekeeper, or the scribe, maybe the facilitator, maybe you, and you just have a different person kind of watch time, set some alarms on their watch or whatever. You also want to create a process for combining, categorizing, summarizing ideas. You don't want to end your brainstorming session with just all of these ideas, because it's going to be very hard to take any action to it. What you want to do is, generally I have half to 3/4 of my time in my brainstorming sessions is coming up with those ideas. At that point, generally halfway, I can usually put a pretty good cutoff. So I like to schedule 1-hour brainstorming sessions most of the time, if it's a decent sized problem. And then at 30 minutes, we kind of stop the brainstorming. Usually it's starting to die down naturally. Sometimes I'll allow it to go up to like 40 minutes, 45 minutes if we have a lot of good ideas coming out. Kind of like a popcorn bag, right? If all the kernels are still popping, don't stop the microwave. Wait for them to slow down and then pull it out. So you want to leave ample time where you can combine some of those ideas. You can categorize some of those ideas. You can summarize some of those the ideas that are very similar. The next thing is, this is a high energy meeting. You don't want to schedule a 2-3 hour brainstorming session. You're going to wear people out, as well as your brains are going to really be fried after that first probably hour, 45 minutes of generating these ideas. But if you have a complex topic that's going to take 3 hours of brainstorming, break it up into different meetings. Break it up into 3 different brainstorming meetings, and then start each meeting talking about what some of those ideas were, and then get into some new ideas. And just kind of breaking it up if it's complex. You don't want to be dealing with brain fatigue as you're kind of working through there. Next thing is schedule follow-up meetings. If you need more details, you want to start diving into some of that, you should be scheduling a follow-up meetings as necessary to do that. And you may be using different elicitation techniques in those follow-up meetings, but it's very important that you take what you've learned in the brainstorming session and move it forward. And last but not least, prioritize your final details to plan your further analysis. The way that I like to do it, I kind of mentioned in the slide, is I like to allow votes for the top ideas. So I just had a brainstorming session not too long ago with my business analyst team where we were talking about continuous improvement projects. And so we were brainstorming different continuous improvement projects that we wanted to do for the next coming fiscal year. I think we came up with like 20, 25 different ideas. And so I was writing them all down. We ended up putting them on the board, and then we took a 5-minute break. And I said, during the break, everybody has 3 votes. Please go up and place a vote by your top 3 continuous improvement projects, the ones that you feel give us the most gain. And then when I came back, we were able to take a look at the board after that 5-minute break, and a couple ideas popped right to the top. It was very easy to tell. Some other ideas were very low. We could erase them off. So basically what we did was we were able to prioritize what continuous improvement projects we wanted to accomplish that next fiscal year. And you can do the same type of thing in your brainstorming sessions. Do some type of a vote. You want to figure out what is that best idea or ideas that you can then move forward on. So I hope that helps. That's brainstorming. Great elicitation technique, but definitely is used at a high level, not to get into the details. I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next lecture.